How's it going, my fellas? Welcome back, it's Nick here. And just to avoid any confusion, as you've seen earlier this week, I've been re-uploading the most iconic world record videos to the channel, as well as the tutorial on N64 Bowser's Castle. And now, as of today and tomorrow, I'm re-uploading October, November, December 2018, as well as January and February 2019 world record progression videos to the channel, just to avoid any confusion. And the newest March 2019 recap is coming this Saturday at April 6th. So if you want to see that, don't miss it. Click the subscribe button, support the channel, and just rewatch the videos, get pumped for the March video, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much, and enjoy.
Welcome back all, NMeade here. Today we're going to go over all of the world records set in November 2018. Let's get into it. For all things time trial, I have several resources in the video description below for you all to check out, including MarioKartWorldRecords.com, which is a good overview of the world record history for this game, other Mario Karts, and also a section for Mario Odyssey and F-Zero. CTGP Records is a collaborative channel of video recorders that record the fastest times on the Nintendo tracks and custom tracks. CTGP Revolution leaderboards to look at all the fastest times on all the tracks and to download times. TWD98 CTGP Revolution download tutorial and the direct site to the CTGP Revolution website. Starting off the month of November, we have an improvement on Grumble Volcano Glitch by Canadian player King Alex. He improved his own world record that was set last month with a new time of 18.641 on November 2nd. This is an improvement of 155 milliseconds over his previous world record. One of the greatest features for time trial in CTGP Revolution, honestly, is the ability to multi-ghost replay different times on the track. And what I mean by this is you can take two or more ghosts, as I'm showing on the screen, and you can replay them together. So making real comparisons as to what strategies and things can lose time or gain time, you can see it right there without trying to guess whether, things are a bit faster or slower when you're comparing two or more times. With that being said, as you can see, Alex's new time was ahead by over 0.5 into lap 2, so clearly his approach into lap 1 was a lot better, but it looks like he lost most of his time lap 2, losing around 0.4. But he was able to clutch it out lap 3 and still improved by over 0.1. Though this isn't a world record improvement, I thought it was worthwhile to at least mention that Japanese player Nayaki, who has been the main contender against Alex for over 9 years now on this track, has recently downloaded CTGP Revolution. He set a time of 19.080 on November 9th, so it looks like we may have a potential world record battle on our hands once again on this track, the two legends clashing against each other. It'll be really exciting to see if we have another world record battle here again. Congrats on your improvement, Alex. Grumble Volcano saw some more activity this month, this time on the No Glitch No Shortcut category. American player Connor beat the previous world record by Norwegian player Barney by 15 milliseconds with a time of 1:52.196 on November 4th. Connor has been grinding this track for many months now, so congrats to you, Connor, for finally getting the world record here. This track is very tricky, especially with these ramps all 3 laps. You can load trick them in such a way where you get quite a bit lower airtime here. As you can see, Connor getting this all 3 laps. And also at the very end, you can get the same type of low jump and have a very low trick into the finish line, which is what they try to do the first 2 laps, but the strategy at the end of lap 3 has always been to wheelie into the finish line as opposed to tricking. So it's very interesting to see that Connor decided to bust out that trick on lap 3 with that being said. 10 days later, on November 14th, Barney would actually tie the world record with 1:52.196. It's really crazy that 10 years later we're still having some world record ties every now and again, which is always really cool to see. So I tried to compare the 2 ghosts and see where the 2 playstyles differ. And the biggest thing that I see is the shroom spot approach for both of these players. Most notably, Barney likes to enter the dirt a little bit later, but he swings a lot farther right into the dirt when you land on the other rock over there. And it looks like he saves a lot more time compared to Connor, especially on lap 2. And as you can see on lap 3, if he gets some peculiar airtime, you can land on the second to last ramp, get a trick, and use that boost momentum to go on a downward slope and save a considerable amount of time. This is by no means consistent, and it happens sporadically for these players. I don't know how much this saves, but it looks like it saves a decent amount. And what's super cool about this comparison, as you can see, is Barney decides to wheelie into the finish line, and Connor decides to do his low trick. So it looks like Barney is going to beat Connor by quite a big amount, but Connor boosts back very quickly right into the finish line. It's going to be really cool to see once the 151 is hit here, which I think is inevitable at this point. Congrats on your improvements, both Connor and Barney. This month also saw 2 improvements on Moonview Highway. British player Liam reclaimed the world record from British player Luke by 10 milliseconds, with a time of 1:43.246 on November 7th. Most noteworthy parts of Liam's run would be getting a double trick on the planner lap 1 and missing one to change to the lap 2. Seeing this double trick here, it does save a good amount of time if you pull it off right, but it's a lot harder said than done with that being said. And I think ultimately, if we were to see a 142 in this track in the end, we'd have to find a consistent way to do it at least 2 out of the 3 laps to beat the truck on lap 3, as well as getting either faster than that blue car or find a way to maneuver inside that car, with that being said, to maintain a 142 pace. Liam's world record lasted 23 days until the last day of this month. Luke came back and beat Liam by 5 milliseconds with a time of 1:43.241 on November 30th. And comparing these two ghosts, Luke gets each wheelie here compared to Liam and has a sizable lead for most of the race. However, with that being said, Liam made up a lot of the time in the boost panel section lap 3 compared to Luke. And some of the small losses in the boost panel section can really add up clearly from this comparison. And it's really difficult as you're trying to not release your main turbo within the speed you get from the boost panel. And that's with anything in this game. Whether you have a trick boost, you're into a boost panel, and you're holding a main turbo, if you release your boost inside the boost you have already, you're missing out a lot of extra time that you can gain, because you're trying to minimize the amount of time you are back at base speed compared to a boosted speed, with that being said. Congrats on your improvements, Liam and Luke. Lastly, the 15th longest lasting world record in the game was beaten on November 29th. British player Luke managed to get his first sub 2:31 and the world record at the same time, with Funky Kong and the Bowser bike, to beat Spanish player Russo X's Daisy Mach-Bike time by 11 milliseconds. Russo's time lasted 1,146 days, from October 10th, 2015 to November 29th, 2018. The ultimate Daisy Mach-Bike dominance would last for 1,946 days, from August 1st, 2013 to November 29th, 2018. There has been a long-term debate between which vehicle is ultimately faster here. Funnily enough, TAS or Lucas actually TAS this track not too long ago with Funky Kong and also Daisy Mach-Bike, and tied each other with the same exact time, with going max speed, max strats, everything. Ultimately, Funky Kong gains on Daisy through his higher speed stat. This track, as you can see, is a lot of long straights, so there's a lot of time for Funky to gain on Daisy, with that being said. And Daisy has 3 major saves over Funky Kong. That includes her better main turbo stat. There's a good amount of main turbos on this track, ultimately, as you can really see. The way Daisy can execute the shroom spot is so much better than Funky Kong, and I think you gain at least 0.1. I think that's a safe estimate compared to the Funky Kong shroom spot. And lastly, the triple main turbo stat on the spiral that Daisy can do a lot more efficiently than Funky Kong. And I think the triple main turbo stat with Funky Kong is only a couple of frames faster. I could be wrong with that, but is so negligible compared to what Daisy can do. There are a few things to comment on for Luke's time here. First off being that he got a full chain wheelie all 3 laps, which does save a considerable amount of time. He lost a little bit of time with the air time he got at the end of the bridge lap 2, but that's basically almost entirely unavoidable, especially with people that know my history here with how the bridge can be. This bridge is one of the most inconsistent things on any track, in my opinion. In case you're wondering, a full chain wheelie basically means that when you initiate a wheelie with any bike, you have 3 seconds or 180 frames that the wheelie lasts. The first frame after frame 180, you can press the wheelie input the first frame after, and you will lose the least amount of speed. Once you press the wheelie every other frame after the first possible frame, you lose even more time that way. Luke managed to get a mid 50.2 on lap 1 with Funky Kong, which is really insane and really hard. I can speak to that from my personal experience on this track. He also got a full chain wheelie on lap 2, and with that fast of a pace, he barely missed smacking into that sliding thwomp on lap 2. I've never been that fast before, and I don't think anyone else has ever been that fast before. He had to compensate by being a little bit harshly angled left to right, And from that point on until the end of the shroom spot, he lost over 0.1 in that entire section, and that's the biggest point of time save in Luke's run currently. The only other noteworthy spot to gain some time would be exiting the spiral a little bit too early on lap 3. His angle was once more a little bit harshly angled from left to right, almost into the side railing there, so he had to nudge in his wheelie a bit. It may not seem like it, but this is a very harsh angle into the trick to land on the banister, and to swerve left and to get that straight alignment into the very end there. And I really understand how difficult that is to recover from that bad of an angle onto the banister. Coupled with the fact with the pace of the run that you were on, it's amazing that you held that to complete that run, Luke. So congrats on your improvement. And that concludes all of the world records set for November, folks. Definitely not 19 compared to last month, but we still had 6 new world records this month. And that brings the world record tally for 2018 up to 104. And that's the very first time we've had over 100 world records in this game set since 2013, 5 years ago. I think that's extremely impressive, especially the fact that these world records are far more optimized than the world records 5 years ago. And keep in mind, this is the very beginning of December, so we have 1 more month for more world records to be set. Thank you all so much, by the way, for your feedback and suggestions on the very first video. I really do appreciate it. I tried to include a lot of the suggestions that you guys gave me on last video for this video and from this point on, and I think it really came out really well. And as always, I'm more than willing to listen to any suggestions that you guys feel that can make this series a whole lot better. If you liked the video, if you like the idea of the series, and if you want a lot more time trial content like this on my channel, please consider throwing this video a thumbs up and also subscribing to the channel, as it really helps to grow the channel and to reach the content to far more people. And I'm really happy with how this is being received so far, and it just gives me a lot more motivation to continue making content like this. Thank you all so much, and have a happy holiday, and I'll see you next month for our next video.